So we are super excited. We have our gold level sponsor, ICANN, is going to do a bit of a talk for us now. Adiel Aplogan is the Vice President for Technical Engagement at ICANN. He has more than 25 years experience in the ICT industry, 15 specifically in the internet technology industry, and has previously worked as CEO for Afrinic, the African Network Information Center, IT Director for Symbol Technology, Motorola in France, and Director of New Technology at Cathay Informatique in Togo. He is recognized as one of the internet technology pioneers in Africa and has contributed to technical capacity building and actual deployment of some of the first private ISPs in Africa from 1996 to 1999. He's an electrical engineer and holds a master's in e-business and new technology management from the Paris Graduate School of Management. He lives and works from Montreal, Canada, where he's also a partner and co-owner of a consultancy firm, iNet Systems, Inc. Everyone, I give up the floor to Adiel.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here. Very well attended event. This is my first time, so well done. So it's Canada. In my former role, I'm Vice President for Technical Engagement at ICANN, but I'm also very much involved in ISOC. I'm a member of the board of ISOC Quebec chapter. From those two hats, I'm very happy to be here and express also the full support of ICANN to this kind of event. My talk today will be about diversity and digital inclusion. So why do we have to talk about digital inclusion from ICANN perspective? First of all, when we are talking about digital inclusion, there are three main aspects of it. The first is about skill, giving people the appropriate skill for them to use and participate to the digital world. The second aspect of it is access, providing people the necessary infrastructure to allow them to access the digital world, to use it, and have it integrated in their life. The third aspect of digital inclusion will touch on accessibility, allowing people who need, who are dependent on assistive technology, for instance, to be able to use the internet generally. So all those aspects are kind of very tangential to what ICANN is. So let me maybe go back and give a brief introduction to what ICANN role is and where can we link it to digital inclusion. ICANN is a global organization that has the role of coordinating the use of Internet Unique Identifier System, domain name, and IP addresses. That role, it exercises through a bottom-up process whereby the community defines policy by which I can manage those identifiers. So the key role for ICANN is to make sure that policies that are defined to manage those identifiers are inclusive, are as much as possible close to people who use those identifiers. So you can easily see there that inclusion is important. We cannot say that something is bottom-up, multi-stakeholder, and participative if it's not inclusive. So for ICANN, making sure that its policy development processes are inclusive and are open to everyone is a part of its digital inclusion posture. So I will briefly talk about two main aspects of how ICANN approach digital inclusion or inclusion in general, and also bring it to a more global perspective. So the first aspect, which is the policy development process. ICANN is made of several organizations, or supporting organizations as we call them, that address different aspects of the identifier system. We have the CCTLD supporting organization, for instance, that deal with all global policy related to country code. .ca, .fr, .eg domain name that are associated with countries. There is a supporting organization that deal with generic name. We are very used to the .com, .net, etc., but now they have been extended to more than 1,000, almost 2,000 generic names that are used globally. And there is a supporting organization that help develop policy by which those generic names are assigned or delegated. Another supporting organization, which is the address, which is IP addresses supporting organization, is in charge of developing global policy that are used for the regional internet registry, who has a more regional role in terms of managing IP addresses. And few other supporting organization or advisory body, like the government advisory body, the at-large, which is the user, you and I, supporting organization. All those organizations work together to build and participate to the policy development process. ICANN being a global organization, it has to allow those supporting organizations, those advisory bodies, and everyone interested with any of those identifiers to participate. And it does that through different mechanisms. One, particularly, is the language barrier. Allowing people who do not use English as their first language to be able to, one, access ICANN information, but also being able to participate into the proceeding when we meet. For a few years now, ICANN has an in-house team that take care specifically take care of translation of our online documents, of proceeding of the different supporting organizations, but also are always at key meeting where ICANN constituency meet to discuss policy. Another aspect for supporting the inclusion is also by developing the skills of people who join. It's not only accessing the internet, it's not only using it. As I mentioned before, we also want people to contribute to its policy development process if we want it to be global. And ICANN has developed several programs, like fellowship program, which allow people who are economically disenfranchised to attend ICANN meeting, to participate. There are several processes to allow people to come back again, because it has been noticed several times that one-shot fellowship does not always yield the effect that we want. ICANN has the next generation program that allow to groom young people through a leadership program with the goal to help them understand the different processes of policy development and being able to participate and being able to actively bring in their voices. I can also partner with different organizations globally because it has a very diverse and globally disseminated team to bring in topic and issue from regional perspective into those global debate. It is an aspiration, digital inclusion is not something that is, that you do and then you say it's done, because we are talking about a global technology here, and a global tool, whereby it will be hard to say that we now have everybody around the table. So it is a goal that is being developed, is being worked on steadily, to reach a point where we can say that we have the maximum of people around the table to discuss internet number issue, their policy, and how they impact people's usage of the internet. The second aspect of my talk will be on using the internet itself, the technology. How the technology can help support the digital inclusion. And I'm going to talk about a program within ICANN which is called the Universal Acceptance. And I will zoom into one specific aspect of the Universal Acceptance Program, which is the use of IDN. It is knowledgeable of everyone that English speakers around the world are not the majority. They are the minority. While the internet, because of its history, has been developed, evolved, particularly around English, but specifically in this case, ASCII character that we use to write English or Latin language. But all those people we are talking about don't use those characters. They write from left to right. They use different kind of character. There are mechanisms for them to produce the content, to write and publish those content online. But what is important here is accessing those information using their own language, meaning having a naming identifiers that can use characters that are used in their language. For instance, I should be able, if I speak Arabic, to write my email fully in Arabic and make sure that when I enter that email in Salesforce, when I enter that email on a web page, it is recognized. When I use a website in Russian, I should be able to do that. In Swahili, in German, I should be able to use all characters that are not specifically ASCII. And the technology has evolved to allow that through different standards, which allow the system to recognize those characters, to translate them in the way that the DNS, for instance, can see those characters and can translate it into the way that people can use them. But the big challenge is the acceptance of that, the IDN or the ability for people to use their own language or write in their own language identifiers that can be recognized by themselves, obviously, but also be recognized everywhere globally. And that is the challenge of the Universal Acceptance Program within ICANN, which has been launched a few years ago, to help first identify how and why. In many cases, it is very, very, very hard for people to use identifiers in their language, written in their language, because the habit of people who develop tools, who develop applications, who develop software, is just to use ASCII by default, which make it difficult to be able to use own language identifiers. You go to some website up to today, and I won't exclude ICANN websites, even at some extent, you cannot use IDN or your email address in other language than ASCII. Even worse, sometimes you cannot even use new domain name that are .brand domain name, for instance, .technology, .club, etc. So there is a deep disconnect between the industry and the evolution of the technology to ensure digital inclusion. It is important because when people use or access content that is not in their language, they want to be able to share it as well, and they want to use identifier that will be recognizable in their culture, in their environment. So the Universal Acceptance Program has been for a long time a program that was led by the community, but supported by ICANN. And the industry was very active in that program to make sure that people are aware of the fact that the DNS has evolved and accept character beyond ASCII. And it is a business decision to make sure that websites, applications, and tools are universally accept identifier beyond ASCII character identifier. That program has evolved significantly over the past year, and now has been fully integrated in the ICANN 5-year strategic plan, which is coming up, to allow, again, to increase the participation of people in what we do, but also in the usage of the technology in general. So those two aspects form the key element of where we look at from ICANN perspective when we talk about inclusion. One, it is core for our mission, which is bottom-up, multi-stakeholder, participative policy development process, where we want everybody, or at least the majority of people around the table, to discuss. But the second aspect is to be able to allow people to access and use and communicate in their own language in the way that is close to their culture. As we are here to discuss and think about how we improve access or how we improve digital inclusion, I think there is a challenge upon us. And that challenge comes from the fact that while talking about either technology development or design or policy development of design, I think digital inclusion should not be a bug to fix after a while. It has to be a goal, an aim in mind when designing upfront technology or policy development process. Because the internet is global, and the global aspects of that technology cannot be asserted without participation, without everybody feeling part of it. But that poses another problem, which is the problem of trust. How can you participate into something that you don't trust? So digital inclusion should also have at its core the capacity from us to make people trust the technology, make them trust what they are participating in. And sometimes it can be seen as kind of a chicken and egg. You broaden participation, you have more digital inclusion. But at the same time, more it's wider, more it's harder to build the trust, more it's harder to secure it, because by broadening participation, you indirectly creating more point of failure, more point of weakness into the system. So digital inclusion have to go hand in hand with capacity, with ability to build trust up front, to have the goal of making people trust in what they are doing. It's hard to do because we are talking about a virtual world, difficult for people to kind of put, a concrete word on when we talk about security online, what are the best practices, what are the best behavior online, because it's so virtual, it's so global, that it can be hard to explain or to get people to understand. So again, the onus is on us to work more and more together as organizations, as people aware, people who understand the technology, to make sure that digital inclusion is taken into consideration at the beginning, at the design level of our technology, of our capacity building, and also of any policy that involves the digital world. The digital inclusion have to move from aspirational to become something embedded into the way we work together, into the way we define the role that we work on, and the way we design the internet as technology going forward and the content. On that, thank you. I will be very happy to have questions and any interaction from the public. Thanks.
Sorry, I don't know how to look at.
All right. Thank God for the mic runners. Yeah, my name's Marita Mall. I'm the North American Regional At-Large Organization Representative. Phew, these are ICANN acronyms in large at the At-Large Council. And thank you very much for that really good discussion about inclusion. At-Large, as the group that tries to involve people, we are actually the group that goes outreaches to bring people in. We try really, really hard to include people from all parts of the world. And it's hard, and there are many, many barriers. And I have to say that ICANN is one of the places where I've never seen an organization take it so seriously and try so hard and put so many resources behind trying to do that. So it's not enough. By no way is it enough, but the work is going on. And also for bringing up the universal access issue. Not universal access. Sorry? Universal acceptance, thank you, yeah. Universal acceptance is one of the topics that was a big topic at the Kobe meeting, ICANN meeting in February. And the at-large group has committed to trying harder and putting more, trying to get the issue about universal acceptance further down into the community, because basically the reason that many websites aren't accepting various names, which they don't recognize, is because they're not really paying attention to this, or they don't know it. So raising awareness about it and doing it through the many avenues into the community that the at-large group has is something that we're going to be focusing on in the next few years. Just as an addition, I'm the person who's been running around passing out these little cards. We're holding a meeting on Thursday evening about ICANN and the multi-stakeholder system and some of the issues that you've been talking about, as well as others. So that's going to be in the market between 5 and 7. If anybody's interested and you didn't get one of these cards, please come and see me. I'm happy to give you one. Thank you.
And a big shout out to Marina Mall. She's one of our former board members.